How long has it been since you last cleaned your ears? With the aim of providing an effective solution for safe and convenient ear cleaning, a company has invented a special earwax suction device. This device functions like a noiseless earphone, cleansing and suctioning earwax in just 30 seconds. When used, you simply wear the device, pour cleaning solution into each ear, and press a button. The nozzle goes deep into the ear canal, pumping the solution in to wash and suction out earwax using microsuction technology. This process is gentle, avoiding damage to the eardrum while ensuring deep cleaning and reducing the risk of infection from residual solution. According to statistics from a relevant agency in the US, on average, 1 in several dozen people neglects long-term ear hygiene, primarily children and the elderly. Conventional methods often struggle to clean ears thoroughly and may pose infection risks if not handled carefully. AutoSat's device has thus become an effective solution for many. However, its main drawback is its relatively high cost, approximately equivalent to $2,000. This raises the question of whether this technological solution could become more widespread and accessible to more people in the future. How would different materials react under the pressure of a speeding train? Placing a metal pipe on the track, as the train passes over, it gets pressed into a long strip. Switching to a stick, under the pressure of the wheels, water sprays out. Next, switching to a few coins, after being repeatedly run over by the wheels, they turn into a thin metal sheet when picked up. Continuing with a hammer, this time it doesn't get completely flattened. Only the handle is pressed down, while the solid metal head remains unchanged. When filling a balloon with a non-Newtonian fluid and placing it on the track as the train runs over, the soft fluid instantly hardens and splashes out, but quickly returns to its liquid state upon hitting the ground. Replacing the fluid with an ice cube, thinking the wheels might slip, but because the ice cube is too small, the wheels crush it into tiny fragments. Placing a string of firecrackers on the track. As the train speeds by, even without lighting the fuse, the strong pressure causes the firecrackers to explode. Trying softer items, starting with a bicycle tire, despite rubber's excellent elasticity, it still gets cut in half under the train's pressure. Finally, placing a cow leg bone on the track under the pressure of the wheels, the bone slips off the track several times, and finally, when correctly positioned, the train crushes the leg bone as well. Is there any material that can withstand the power of this speeding train? Using this machine to harvest green onions can pull them up in bunches and uproot them, achieving an efficiency equivalent to 10 people. After being uprooted, the green onions are neatly conveyed to a platform where workers can directly box them. With 2 people operating one machine, it can harvest 5,000 green onions in 1 hour. This high efficiency is due to the harvesting conveyor belt on one side of the machine, which is inclined downward at a 45-degree angle. At the bottom, there are 2 spiral drill heads responsible for gripping the roots of the green onions and spinning rapidly to pull them out of the ground. Simultaneously, the tops of the green onions are trimmed of excess leaves, and the processed green onions are clamped in the middle to continue being conveyed upwards. During the upward conveyance, a beating device at the bottom continuously strikes the roots of the green onions to knock off any adhering soil, ensuring the harvested green onions are very clean. When the green onions reach the end of the conveyor belt, they neatly fall onto a collection platform. Here, a worker can be stationed to handle the boxing of the green onions, or a collection box can be installed at the end of the platform to let the green onions naturally fall in. The harvesting principle remains the same, but additional conveyor belts can be installed to harvest 4 rows of carrots simultaneously. Isn't this technology truly amazing? Do you believe that with just 2 simple steps, an old oil tanker can be transformed into a luxurious one? By cutting the old ship in half and inserting a new section, the oil tanker becomes a large, luxurious vessel. This is the amazing technology of hull stretching. Simply put, it is upgrading and lengthening the ship. Initially, the shipyard will haul the old oil tanker onto a track and then draw lines to prepare for cutting. This step requires meticulous planning because only with precise initial cutting will the subsequent welding be relatively easy. At that time, both the interior and exterior will be cut simultaneously, mostly using a track cutter to ensure straight and precise cuts. The outer hull is cut manually by sending workers to high positions. In less than 2 days, the oil tanker, dozens of meters high, will be cut in half. Then, using the bottom rails to separate the 2 sections of the hull, workers will construct a new section alongside based on the cut surfaces and the layout of the ship. This new section is then inserted in the middle using a trailer, and the welding process begins. Because of the precise initial cutting, welding is much easier. Finally, the ship is repainted. A luxurious oil tanker that originally needed 2 years to complete is finished in just 2 months. Of course, with increased size, more power is required. The old engine is no longer sufficient, so a new engine will be installed during the refurbishment process. Laser rust removal technology is opening new horizons in surface cleaning and protection. Using light liquid paint removers and light rust removers with this technology can clean all surfaces, from flat areas to complex mechanical parts. This technology is remarkable in that it can use not only circular laser beams, but also linear ones. Regardless of the shape, the process involves a single laser beam emitted from a laser gun moving at high speed along a predefined path. The outstanding cleaning effectiveness is mainly due to two factors. The high-energy laser's heat instantly raises the temperature of the rust, causing most of it to burn and vaporize. The sound waves emitted by the machine during operation cause any remaining rust residues to shake off the surface of the object. However, when using laser rust removal technology, workers need to wear gas masks to avoid inhaling dust and can also combine it with a vacuum cleaner to ensure absolute safety. Notably, lasers can not only clean the surface of objects but also enhance them, creating a matte finish by spraying metal powder. Under the heat of the laser, the metal powder melts and adheres firmly to the object's surface, increasing its durability and extending its lifespan. Laser rust removal technology is truly a miraculous method. With this potential, who knows how far the technology will develop in the future? Just for a cork, humans have extended their sinister hands to a 200-year-old oak tree, frenziedly chopping its trunk, stripping off its bark until the tree trunk is clean. You might think this is cruel, but the reality is different. This is a type of tree called cork oak, with soft, smooth, waterproof, and highly elastic bark, making it an excellent material for bottle corks. Some of the corks for famous wines are made from this bark, hence the cork oak is dubbed the guardian deity of wine. The production of a bottle cork seems simple, but is actually very complex. Because this tree is protected by law, its bark can only be harvested after 15 years of the tree's life. The second harvest must wait another 9 years, and the bark harvested after these 9 years is the best material for making corks. Therefore, to produce a quality cork, it takes up to 33 years. Despite bark stripping technology existing for centuries, craftsmen are always careful not to harm the tree's interior when stripping the bark. After the bark is removed, it needs to be air-dried outdoors for 1 to 2 years before processing begins. Then, workers soak the bark in water for an hour to boil and sterilize it, making the bark softer. Next, the bark is cut into long strips and pressed into cork shapes using special machines. The remaining materials are also not wasted. The factory grinds them into granules and uses them to make synthetic bottle corks. First, the granules are placed into a purification chamber for cleaning, then into a hot compression vessel where liquid CO2 is pumped in for a thorough wash, lasting 2.5 hours. Samples are taken and sent to the laboratory for testing to ensure no impurities remain. Next, the granules are mixed with glue and poured into molds, where a special molding machine shapes them into cork forms. They are then placed in an oven for 5 minutes to set. The loose granules now become flexible bottle corks. To facilitate easy insertion into the bottle neck, a lathe machine grinds the ends of the corks into angled tips. The factory uses cameras to inspect the corks for defects and takes samples to test for permeability. Subsequently, a laser engraver prints the distillery's brand information on one end of the cork and creates patterns on the surface to simulate the texture of natural cork. Finally, each cork undergoes individual quality inspection by quality control staff. Once confirmed to meet standards, these corks are sent to the distillery. Behold a machine like you've never seen before, a giant-mouthed device constantly devouring tree branches. The branches and leaves it consumes are ground into bits and blown out from the machine's rear. What does it do? Don't forget, in vegetable greenhouses, crops are rotated seasonally. Before planting new crops, it's essential to clear away the leftover branches and leaves from the previous crop, and this machine was specially invented for swiftly cleaning greenhouse foliage. It's called a crop shredder. Take the example of a tomato greenhouse. After completing the tomato harvest, workers arrange plastic bags at the base of tomato branches. Once all the branches are in place, they start the crop shredder at the starting point. Here, they feed the bag's opening into a steel pipe. As the machine operates, the pipe spins rapidly, pulling up the plastic bag. The branches on the bag also move towards the machine. From below, the plastic bag is pulled up, and from above, the branch leaves are conveyed onto the bag conveyor. Finally, at the end of the conveyor is the shredding device. The machine can handle 2 plastic bags simultaneously, shredding all the gathered branches regardless of their quantity. Ultimately, a fan at the rear of the machine blows the plant debris into a transport truck. After cleaning one row of crops, the machine moves forward. It repeats the previous steps to clean the next row of crops. Each day, it can clean up to 15 acres of vegetables in the greenhouse, helping farmers plant new crops faster. Isn't it amazing? the machine that has put millions of farmers out of work. How easy is it to hang yourself from the ceiling to feed cows? After operating the hay grabber, it can move directly above the livestock to complete the feeding task. This feeding system, invented by a Dutch company, is specifically designed for raising livestock in greenhouses. After removing the necessary work passages, only the breeding area and the feeding area are left inside the greenhouse. They install tracks on the greenhouse ceiling from which a row of hay grabbers are suspended. Workers sit in the cockpit, controlling the machine's movement along the tracks, while also controlling the grabber to pick up and drop hay. As for how the driver gets up there are two methods. One is using a crane to lift the driver along with the machine onto the moving track. The other is building a dedicated ladder beside it to help workers enter and exit the cockpit. Typically, workers control the machine to move above the hay storage point, then extend the robotic arm, which can reach up to 8 meters, to grab the hay. After securely grabbing the hay, they move it along the track. During the movement, the cockpit direction can be rotated via a top-mounted turntable. Once they reach the area where the hay needs to be dropped, they release the grabber to complete the feeding task. In addition to feeding, workers can also use this machine to transport hay or other items, making the transportation process much easier than manual labor. Furthermore, this system is also applied in waste treatment plants, where it helps workers complete the task of sorting garbage. How many laborers do you think this machine has reduced? Oh my God, criminals can't escape from the police because of this device. This is a tracking dart that makes it impossible for criminals' vehicles to escape. When in use, the dart is fired from the front of the police car and sticks directly to the rear of the target vehicle. Because the dart is equipped with GPS, the police car no longer needs to engage in a high-speed chase. Through a remote monitoring system, the police can track the location of the target vehicle in real time, avoiding dangerous pursuits and potential casualties. To ensure the accuracy and adhesion of the tracking dart, the tip of the dart is coated with a layer of solid glue. When used, the officer in the police car presses the first button to activate the heating element, melting the glue to the appropriate viscosity. Simultaneously, a green laser is emitted to aid in aiming. When the fire button is pressed, the tracking dart is launched and firmly attaches to the target vehicle due to the highly adhesive glue, preventing it from falling off. At this point, the police car can reduce its speed. When the criminals think they have escaped, the police can use GPS to precisely locate and track the target in real time, capturing them more safely. In addition to being controlled from inside the car, the tracking dart can also be activated with a small button. When officers exit the vehicle to inspect, if they detect the front car fleeing, they can press a button to deploy the tracking dart. Furthermore, the tracking dart can be used with a special firing gun, extending its range. Sitting in the passenger seat, the officer can aim and pull the trigger to hit the target vehicle more easily. The flowers are cut off, and the surprising reason. A machine is working above the tulips, causing all the flowers to fall to the ground, leaving only the stems in the field. This is a tulip farm in the Netherlands, and the reason for this practice is that the farm is not cultivating tulip flowers, but rather tulip bulbs that can produce flowers. Every time the tulips bloom at their best, the farm opens for a short period to allow visitors to come and take photos, generating additional revenue from entrance fees. After this, workers operate specialized machines to remove the flowers. Only by doing this can the nutrients from the plant fully transfer to the bulb, promoting faster growth. There are many types of machines, but regardless of whether the machine has one removal unit or 3, the principle is the same. Below a giant glass roller, there is a row of cutting blades. When operating, the blades slide into the gaps of the tulip stems, securing the flowers, and the roller above continuously rolls to detach the flowers. The fallen tulip petals are then conveyed to the empty spaces on either side, eventually turning into fertilizer to nourish the soil. Once the tulip bulbs have matured, workers will switch to another harvesting machine to collect the bulbs buried underground, then send them to a factory for sorting and cleaning, and finally ship them worldwide. The farm's main profit comes from selling these tulip bulbs.